So it's been a little bit now since the end of the very disappointing game of the Indiana Fever versus Golden State, when Indiana just looked lost. It looked like they were running the wrong system the whole game, and I know there's been a lot of talk and good talk. I mean, I've watched a lot of really great videos, and the prevailing narrative seems to be they need to choose between Caitlin and Stephanie White. And I agree. I agree with that. What I want to talk about, though, is the fact we should have seen this coming. I should have seen this coming. I didn't. I made a lot of videos saying, yeah, this is good. We got, the Indiana Fever organization. We went and got Stephanie White. We got, Amber Cox and Kelly Krosnoff as the in our front office. These are all, long-time WNBA stalwarts. And it's like, okay, they're going to figure out how to take Caitlin's talent, make it work within the WNBA. We should have realized that was not the case. I should have realized, because, I made a bunch of videos trashing the Connecticut Sun under Stephanie White. And, what I felt was, underachievement on their part in the playoffs, and just not, living up to what their talent was. And so basically, we should have seen this coming. She's very stubborn. Which, as a coach, you have to be, and I get that. I'm not here to just trash her, but, she has a system that just is not conducive and not what, Caitlin Clark needs, not what that team needs. And like I said, that's the problem. Caitlin Clark last year, and really since she's stepped in, has been fighting the old WNBA guard. And that's going to be a problem, because now now the Indiana Fever, they've gotten these stalwarts of the old WNBA, and that's just not going to be a good thing, because sorry, trying to get the sun out of my eyes here. Like I said, it's going to be an uphill battle, because they're trying to shoehorn her into the old WNBA, which she represents a new style, a new era, a new exciting era. And Stephanie White has her in the system, and like I said, I'm not gonna pretend like I really know the X's and the O's. I kind of do. Watching these videos has helped me understand the X's and O's more, but I'm not really going to go into that. But, she's trying to run them in an old school WNBA offense. That's not going to work. Using her off the ball as a decoy, that's not the way it needs to go. And like I said, it's just at some point, either Stephanie White needs to step back and say, okay, we're going to completely reimagine this, or, the Indiana Fever as an organization needs to step up and say, we need to get outside eyes for this new era. We need to get an outside coach. I know the name that seems to be on a lot of people's lips, including mine, is Mark Jackson. I would love to see that. Or even Mike D'Antonio, seeing what he did with Steve Nash in those years with the Suns. I think that's the kind of offense that Caitlin Clark needs to run. I know they didn't win an NBA championship, but they were playing against a pretty big gauntlet. That was the height of Tim Duncan's Spurs, and Kobe and the Lakers are coming about. They beat the Lakers twice in a row, but they really had to expend a lot of energy doing that. And just a lot of other teams at the time were real problems for them. So I really think he'd be a good one. Obviously Larry Bird, I doubt that's going to happen, but it is Indiana, and a boy can dream. Like I said, we need somebody coming with a fresh set of eyes, who's not stuck in the WNBA. I mentioned that in the video, but I just wanted to really, reestablish that point a lot. We need somebody who's not stuck in that, who's not, there to gatekeep, who's not there to say, okay, I don't want to step on any toes. I want to keep the WNBA as the way it's been, and we just need somebody who's gonna not worry about all that, and only worry about what's best for the Indiana Fever, what's best for Caitlin Clark. Because with the ball in her hands, with her running the offense, she's going to make everybody around her better. She did it last year. She really brought out the best in Aaliyah Boston. She brought out the best in Kelsey Mitchell and Lexi Hull. And this year, I really think people like Sophie Cunningham and Natasha Howard, they've been good, but I think they can be even better with Caitlin, kind of manning the fort, so to speak. So, so like I said, I know this whole, I agree 100%. They do need to choose between either Stephanie White's system or Caitlin Clark, because her system doesn't work for Caitlin. So either she needs to change, or she needs to step aside and or be pushed aside and get somebody else in there. But it'll be interesting to see. It's not it's been tough. It's been not something we've enjoyed watching. Is watching them struggle. Somebody just running head first into a brick wall every time. And the frustrating thing is that first quarter under the Caitlin Clark system, they did great, and then for the next 3 quarters, nothing. So I mean, not nothing, but I mean they did horrible. So they just gave up and gave up and gave up. So just want to see the Fever go out there and either tell Stephanie, look, we're gonna have to reimagine this, and it's Caitlin Clark's team, and the system has to fit her first and foremost. If it doesn't fit her, then it needs to be thrown away, and a new system needs to be put in. So we'll have to see. This is quite the storyline. It's a drama, it's a circus, but also Caitlin Clark needs to step up too and say, look, this is what I'm good at. When I do this, results happen. When I don't do this, we just stand around looking like a bunch of lugs, while the other teams like Golden State, who are very hungry and do a lot of ball movement, basically kick our ass. So she needs to stand up, and I get the one thing I've gotten from this book from Christine Brennan is she's still a kid at heart. She just wants to go out there and compete and play basketball. I know she doesn't want to be involved in these backstage or behind the curtain locker room politics, but that's the reality of the deal. Especially in a WNBA that's not very welcoming to her. So like I said, it's time for somebody to step up and say, look, this isn't working. We're wasting the prime and the talent of a once-in-a-lifetime generation, the Golden Goose. And I mean, decisions need to be made. This isn't going to work. I know we're only 20-something games into the season, but we're already just spinning our wheels in the mud, and when we do gain traction, it's straight into a brick wall, it seems like. So this is not a recipe for long-term success at all. This is a recipe for, at best, another low-seeded playoff playoff position and first-round exit. So hopefully it'll change. It'll be interesting to see where they go from here. But like I said, time for some changes. Time to get somebody in there that's going to have a fresh set of eyes and get them what they need. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you later.